We are the original Saturday Menudo Club, except no substitutes. Ya no más.
The views and opinions expressed in the Saturday Menudo gatherings, livecasts, or videos do not necessarily reflect the views of the club, its sponsors, the hosts, or its supporters. All content is for information and entertainment purposes. We do support free speech.
Doc. Anybody know why they give you the word Doc as your name? Right? It's not an official term. It's a nickname. Well, first of all, thank you for Andy for having us out here, Valdez and Carmen. Thank you. Doc is a term that the first time I heard it was in Iraq in 2004 when they hollered out and said, "Doc, this one's the worst, we need you over here." Right? That's the word. That's usually the medics get that name, the Doc, D-O-C. Corpsmen in the Marines, Green Berets have their 18 Deltas. I was the guy in charge of all the 18 Deltas in my command, and I was in task forces in different levels. But because I was an infantry guy in 1983, and Ronald Reagan was the president, first commander-in-chief I ever saw walk in front of me as I was on honor guard. Even though I wasn't 6 foot tall, I did this so I could get on the honor guard. Right? But I did. I was 5'11" at the time. I've been jumping out of planes for a while and carrying rucks. It kind of brings you down a little bit. Maybe that's what we need politicians to do more of, is bring them down a little bit.
Right.
Go out there and do a long ruck. But from that time, and the things that I learned from 1983 to the present, as a follower of leaders and a leader of people that follow, is that Commander-in-Chief of the state of Texas is the governor, the 30th largest army in the world if Texas was a country. That's a heavy duty. That's a heavy responsibility. I'm starting this off this way as I sat here and I'm just praying, I'm sitting over there praying about, Holy Spirit, just give me words.
Come on.
Look at their hearts. Let me see you how God sees you. Let me love you how God loves you. And we might drive out here after this and I might cut you off. And, we're not going to love each other so much, but we're going to cut. But here's the truth. The truth is that a leader is responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen. Responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen. Thank you in the back, sorry. So, as that leader, it's my duty to read the job description. And the job description of the governor comes in this document right here. Constitution of the state of Texas. That's part of it. There's a job description. Every time I took a new job, I had to read the job description. Okay? So my job from private infantry guy, carrying rucks and digging holes, all the way to a flight surgeon, flying nap of the earth at hair on fire, trying to get guys off the ground and bring them back alive. The job descriptions change. The responsibilities change. But there's one key principle. You're responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen. But in this Constitution here, in the job description, Commander-in-Chief is one of them. Responsible for the budget is another one. You. All political power is inherent in you. Every one of you. Me. It's in us. Political power. By the Bill of Rights of the State of Texas, Article 1, Section 2. It's right here. A family gave me this, by the way, in Nacogdoches. This is their 1830s copy of the 1930s copy of the 1876 Constitution. Handed to me and said, take care of it. I hold these things dear. I don't take this stuff lightly. Somebody else handed me a Bible about that big. We always get them issued when we go down range. This Bible was on D-Day. There was a family in Kerrville. Their grandpa had died. He was at D-Day. He made it back. That was his Bible. And they gave it to me after the floods. These are relationship things. Because I got to know you. And you got to know me. And here we go. All powers inherent in the people. I'm going to get there. Sorry. Here we go. All political power. There's perceived political power. It sits in Austin. It sits in DC. Perceived political power. When you lose track of the things that are important, the center of gravity, which is you, center of gravity, right here, I'm just going to move it down to the heart. It reminds me that we need a heart transplant, not just in the state, but in this nation. I wasn't a transplant surgeon. I was essentially a plumber on the battlefield. It was my job to stop bleeding in bad places. But we need a heart transplant. We need to stop the infighting on the right and the left. Imagine if you could take a come-along. Anybody know what a come-along is? Right? And you could take that red side of the fence and you could take that blue side of the fence and you could just pull it back together. We can unite. Like Braveheart, unite the clans. Any Scotch-Irish in here? You probably recognize that, right? I don't care what color your kilt is, we're all part of one. One fabric, one nation, a tapestry of God, a divine intervention, a thing that happens when we meet in agreement or disagreement, but out of love and not dialectic, because the dialectic is what kills us. The dialectic is Fox News versus CNN. It's this one versus that one. This ain't a fist fight. This is all of us getting through this together because we are in a color revolution in this nation. Right now, we're in the midst of it. Now, that's not just a term. That's a thing. And as former Green Beret, I understood as an 18 Alpha officer what a color revolution smells like, looks like, tastes like from a mile away. I've been in countries that are in the midst of them. 53 countries in my time in the service. I've watched them happen. I've watched them go down. We were trained to create it. I was never on that kind of mission. We could overthrow a country. But when we see it coming, and I come back home in 2015, I joined the Texas National Guard and put on that uniform, I'm watching it happen in my nation because I spent most of my time looking at missions on active duty when I left Fort Bragg in 2015. The nation is under a hybrid color revolution. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of faith in here, because we are watchmen. Ezekiel chapter 33, we're watchmen. And if we don't sound the alarm, when I was sitting there as a young guy in 1985 looking at North Korea through binoculars, and I had to press a button if the Chinese horde showed up. It didn't happen. They got it, because there were just two of us in that foxhole. But if we don't sound the alarm, it's on us. And if I sound the alarm to my commander, that'd be the governor, when I was on the border on Operation Lone Star and other times where I briefed face-to-face at least once in the Del Rio hangar when 17,000 Haitians showed up over 48 hours. And the first of us that got down there that night, there was 40 of us, we call them green suiters, military guys. You got the DPS guys, you got the Border Patrol. There was about 200 of us in all. About the first 700 people that came across from Haiti showed up at night. And they told us to hold the line. And we did. We held the line. That morning we got into a fight. You guys saw it on the news. You might have seen somebody with split reins in the air and they were saying he was whipping them during the Biden administration. And they pulled the horses off the border. But me and my dog, and he's out there in the van right now chilling out, we stopped about 400 of them in one crossing. You remember on the news with the low water crossing at Del Rio when they were just walking across? That night they didn't come across there because when somebody asks you from across the river, "Pero es no bueno y bueno." I was like, "Pero es no bueno." Don't come across. Right? But by morning's light, we saw 17,000 of them coming around the periphery. And there wasn't anything we could do. We called for help and 400 troopers showed up. We got them under the bridge. That was another fight. And many of them, not seeking asylum. Not seeking asylum. That was a game. That was a CBP-1 app that allowed them to seek asylum from outside the country to come into the country and just fly in at some points, directly to their destinations. But the optics of Operation Lone Star did not match the reality. I'm telling you firsthand, as a key planner to that whole operation, we were not allowed to have the authorities required to complete the mission. Okay? There's a mission. Stop people from coming across that are bad actors. That's the mission. If you don't give your troops authority, which are also outlined in Article 4, Section 7 of this document right here, which says it's incumbent upon the governor to protect this border in an invasion, protect the state. It's incumbent. I would have to say, if I was a governor, if I was a commander, if I was a law enforcement officer, and I did not do my job, that's dereliction of duty. And then I could not then take the people that came across the border and put them on buses and send them further into the interior. It's on the governor's website. I'm sorry, sir. I respect you, and I've respected you, and I've worked with you, and I've fought and I've had to die for you. But here's the deal. If you're not seeing the big picture and the leadership side, we don't expect every person to know everything about the news, because of the real news, the facts, until somebody tells you, and a true watchman tells you. But it's my job to tell you. But it's also my job, if we take this, and I said this on Mr. Bannon's show the other day, and I wasn't trying to be funny, but I said, well, sir, I don't really like the word governor. It's too British for me. Didn't we fight them off? And he laughed and he spewed some water out when he was joking, we were having a good time. But I said, but truly, let's keep things. Words have meaning. Words have power. Senior public servant is what I'm running for. A servant's heart. A soldier that's willing to do the hard stuff, infantry stuff, and then to take a knee when somebody hands me a child in combat that's half on fire and rescue that kid. Or a kid that drowns in the Rio Grande and to console the parents. I love each and every one of them. But the system that took place overwhelmed the system. It's a system. It was an organized system that came across. NGOs, some bad actors. The Clinton Foundation. I found out firsthand myself on that operation. The Haitians were supported by the Clinton Foundation. I'll say it right there. It's not red side stuff. It's a fact. When UNESCO came along, the same people that wrote the document that I believe that the Blue Bonnet program mimics, but that's a whole other program. When I saw those people come across, and then I was working on it, and I'm asking them, and they're showing me their WhatsApp. And here's their plans on how to get into this nation. Some of it that was supported by the American Red Cross. Then you've got to know that there's an organized invasion going on. That's just one aspect of it. We got a Chinese, let's just think of the legs of this thing. CCP, Sharia law, colony rich stuff, which is supported by thugs that came out of Agua. Right? We chased bad guys all the way up into there. But without authorities, we can't do anything. So I can write, as a governor, a strongly worded letter to say, no more Sharia law. But if I don't add the authorities to it, right, now we got, thank goodness Paxton's in there doing it. And now he's saying, okay, we're gonna actually outlaw it. But you're outlining 2 out of about 9 organizations that we need to outlaw. And I saw 120 countries come across that border. I'm giving you the 40,000 foot view so you can understand the reason that I'm in this race. It's not because I wanted to run for this. But these gentlemen here that are with me, we bring little kids back from bad places. That's my love, that's my passion. You want to see heaven, look in the eyes of a kid that's been rescued. These guys will tell you, that's heaven. They grab you, they love you. You know they're safe, and they know they're safe. But for us, now, the reason we're in this is because the watchman principle. I've got to be the one to sound the alarm to say, who in their right mind wants to go up against a $50, $100 million war chest, whatever it is, with a 0.03% of that kickoff? Well, actually, we started with $1 because we're going to give this to God. That's the first account. We went in there and set it up. We deposited $1, and the bank manager came out, and they were all coming out. This guy's running for governor, and they're thinking there's going to be about $1 million bill. first day. I said, here's the $1. He said, well, just $1? I said, yeah, we'll be back with more, and we have been. Because the organization of Texans, when I watched it on the Guadalupe, when 17,000 Texans showed up in an emergency, right? Thank you. Because these guys and other guys from around the country, and SEALs were flying in from Coronado, and Green Berets, medics coming in from Bragg on the 5th of July. They showed up. I called them on the 4th of July from Ingram and said, I need some help. It was just me and the guy and a dog. Because it was overwhelming. But 17,000 citizens showed up, and guess what happened during the meeting, the special session in Kerrville? Right? You got Senate, you got the House, and they were admonishing citizens through TDAM for showing up and getting in the way. When they didn't set up their compound till the 3rd day, and the first thing they set up was their chow hall. And I walked in there, because I still got my credentials, Well, visibly, they looked at me and said, "Oh, come on in, Colonel." I'm like, "Okay." So I walked on in, and I saw the crews over there, flight crews, and I said, "What are y'all doing?" "We're flying VIPs." I said, "I got some Marside guys over here. Fly them out. We got people on the side of the river. Go get them." Roger that. Their first rescues on the side of the river, Texas National Guard pilots, were with our guys, Marside guys from all over the country. That was the first mission, because you run to the sound of the fire, right? Much of the time. You run to the sound of the fire, and you find it, and then you take the chaos and you control the controllables. These things are things that I've learned over a long period of time. I've negotiated with the King of Jordan, I'll say it, it's not OPSEC, right? Briefed Congress, been in the Speaker's office numerous times up in DC, and watched all that. Was asked to run for Congress myself, and I said, "No, I'm not a legislator. I'm an executive." And I said, someday I'll probably run for sheriff somewhere. I mean, friend Kat's here right now, she knows that about me. Yeah, he'll probably make a good sheriff, and I would. I'd love to be in just a small town, raise some Coriandis, sell them to a rodeo market. Until a group of people in North Texas asked me, "Would you run for governor?" I said, "Nope. Nope, it was an ambush." I've been in an ambush before. 12th May 2004, Rick Warden, Mike Bravo, 4560-7890. Lost 2 men in that ambush. I went home a year later and I went to a memorial service with a mom, a single mom, and the guy that saved my life that day, who protected me, didn't make it back. And as a young captain, I knew the principles of a good commander knows that you're responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen. And I looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, Washington State, she could have hated me, she could have spit on me, she could have slapped me, and I would have taken every bit of it." I said, "Ma'am, I was responsible for your son. He became an E6 the day he died. E5, I'm sorry, the day he died. They promoted him." And she said, I said, "Is there anything I can do to bereave your loss?" And she said, "Live your life like Jeff's life mattered." A mom. Is that not what we are to do for the Son of God? To live our lives like His life mattered. There's a sacrifice, but when we do things that have meaning to it, there's a sacrifice. When 6,000 soldiers were on the Texas border, 3,000 of them I did informed consents to, and they didn't want to take the shots because they didn't have to. They were experimental. Army Regulation 40-562, Chapter 8, paragraphs 4 through 6 clearly states, if it's an emergency use authorized shot, give them informed consents. Texas was looking bad. National Guard Bureau. The numbers in Texas, nobody's taking the shot. You got all these troops down there, the largest deployment on the Texas border since chasing Pancho Villa. What's going on? Well, there's a guy down there, his name's Doc Chambers. We'll talk to him. They sent a 2-star general down, and we played this game. The game is called Rock, Paper, Rank. Right, so I lost. I got fired. I went back to the house. But I did tell him, "Sir," the reason I got fired, because he liked me, I liked him. He's a good guy, but I've been chewed out before. I said, "Sir," I said, "that's an unlawful order. You telling me not to do informed consents. Don't push it." Right? He pushed it. Well, I'm out. So I went ahead and retired. And then the next week, I wasn't fully retired yet. I went on Alex Jones' show and I said, "Hey, here's what's going on." I wasn't asking to get on Alex Jones. I had no social media. But I said, "But I've got to get this word out," because my first shots that showed up on the border came from South Dakota. They were South Dakota National Guard that showed up on our border to help us. And 2 of them got off the bus. One had myocarditis, pericarditis, and the other one had a stroke. Had to go to speech rehab for 2 years. I still follow up with these guys. The other guy that got out, 27-year-old, his heart is about a 75-year-old congestive heart failure patient right now. Completely debilitated. So I said, I didn't know anything more or anything less other than I've been to Africa. I watched people take ivermectin. I've given it to people. Same thing with hydroxychloroquine. When the state said, "You're not using those drugs, we're taking them out of your inventory, and we're going to come down there and we're going to fire you." And I testified in the case when the SEALs needed some help. Yeah, we Green Berets do get to rescue SEALs once in a while. And I went to a court case in Tampa, and I stood up for all the SEALs that did not want to take the shots against the DOD. Now, what happens to a lieutenant colonel when he goes up against the Department of Defense? That's what it was called before. You become persona non grata. Do you want a governor that's willing to stand up against the federal government even if there's a cost?
Yes.
It took them 2 years, thank you. It took them 2 years for me to get my first retirement paycheck. You know why? My paperwork, there was something wrong with it.
Of course.
It's okay. I still got my disability. That's about $4,000. You can look it up, $4,000 a month. But we were rescuing kids, and we were going to rivers, and we were going to North Carolina. Life is good when you have purpose. So for us, for me, and I'm not talking a lot of policy stuff because we got Perla. She's policy, 100%. I mean, you can look at the website. We got task forces and commissions and all those things that are preparing those documents for us so we can hit the ground running day one. But the number one thing we got to do is every able-bodied man or woman in this room that joins the Texas State Guard, not the National Guard, the State Guard from day forward when I'm Commander-in-Chief, will not pay property taxes day one. You're serving the state. You serve the state of Texas in the finest unit that started under James Bowie in the Alamo, 24 February 1836. When a letter came from there, that the same words that I wrote on about 5 walls downrange, because I never know when we're going to be at the Alamo. All Texans and Americans in the world, fellow citizens and patriots, were besieged on all sides by enemies under. That was Santa Ana. But now let's put in principalities, rulers of darkness. Let's put in globalists. Let's put in World Economic Forum. Let's put in those that love Davos and want to go hang out over there. We can put all those things in that category, what the enemy is coming up against us with. But Texas is a jewel, Texas is a gem, and we have to protect it with every bit of our ounce of ability to protect it. That's just the facts. I've seen some heroes downrange. I've worked with them. They are some great men, great women. We've got to have that same intestinal fortitude for what we're doing on the non-kinetic, the non-shooting side of the house, because otherwise, how long do we have before it becomes that? How long do we have before we got Dearborn? How long is it before we get New York? How long before we get Minnesota? The fraud, waste, and abuse that's taking place in Minnesota, that's this part of the iceberg. If this is the ocean, this is what's going on in Texas. I've seen it. I see Colony Ridge. I flew over it about a month ago now. I'm going to guesstimate by the year, because I flew over it the first time in 2023. It went from 20-something thousand to probably about 150,000 right now. That's the 18th largest city in Texas. Lawlessness. You can ask Sheriff Roy Boyd, chased a murder up into there not too long ago. Neighborhood that was in there early on when they were building it. Neighbors complained that they were playing too much music, they were shooting AKs in the backyard. They went over there and killed every single person in that house. You know about that. Lawlessness.
Liberty County.
Liberty County,
That's right.
just south of Cleveland.
Corruption.
I've been in there numerous times looking for bad guys. Corruption. And so what we have to do, we stop that, right? But we do it based upon the truest principle, the truest virtue of a soldier that truly understands what is due to his honor and that of his country, right? William Bader Travis again. And we don't want to call for aid with all dispatch. That was the Alamo. We want San Jacinto. I recommend 18 minutes of prayer every day about this state. You know why 18 minutes? Because that's how many minutes it took for Houston to win the Battle of San Jacinto. 18 minutes is not that hard to do. Pray for your state. We want victory. We speak victory over ourselves. And as we speak victory over ourselves, it requires action. Faith without works is dead. Politicians without reality is dead. You can't write strongly worded letters. I respect every single one of them for their service. But I promise you this, if you're part of the other side and you're either sin of omission or commission, there's accountability, and it's coming. And there's going to be people crying, and there's going to be people getting fired, and there's going to be people upset. We're going to have to break some certain rules, not rules, we're going to have to break some things that are already broken rules. That's really what we have to do, because this right here, I'm a constitutional guy. Right here, it's as plain as the nose on your face, it's black and white. So, if you want someone that's going to bring fiscal responsibility, physical security, and physiologic health to this state, because I understand those attacks with the mRNA, no more mRNA in the state of Texas, day one moratorium. You're not coming to me. Number two, I know you're going to call me a conspiracy theorist, but we've got to either launch some fighter jets to escort these planes down so we can see what's in the back of them and see if it's something that's going to hurt people, because I've been asked too many times. If you're asking me about a problem, said I'm a fat guy. Show me the facts. So let's talk to him and say, why are you spraying in Texas? They've got 5 states now that have stopped it, but they can only stop what's below the federal zone and federal air zone. Is there not a thing called gravity? Does that not come down to our zone? We've made our time on target. My name is Pete Chambers. I am not a politician. I love every one of you, and we'll see you on the 3rd of March, the day after Independence Day. That'll be Liberation Day. God bless you.